Welcome back to Học tiếng Anh với Joseph, where we build vocabulary and practice pronunciation. Hôm nay chúng ta đọc tiếp câu chuyện thứ hai trong cuốn sách The Cat in the Box. Câu chuyện hôm qua thì về Archimedes. Hôm nay thì về Eratosthenes, người đầu tiên đã đo được chu vi của trái đất hơn 2.300 năm về trước. Measuring the diameter of the Earth. The first scientific attempt to measure the size of the Earth was made by a Greek polymath, Eratosthenes of Cyrene, 276 to 194 BCE, who was in charge of the Library of Alexandria in the 3rd century BCE. He was a contemporary and friend of Archimedes. His experiment involved some observations of his own made in Alexandria, but combined with evidence from far-away place, the city then known as Syene, now Aswan, which he had never visited. Eratosthenes learned that each year on the day of the summer solstice, when the sun is at its highest in the sky, it was exactly overhead at Syene, south of Alexandria. Travelers told how the reflection of the sun could be seen at the bottom of a deep well in Syene on that day. Even at the summer solstice, the sun is not directly overhead at Alexandria, because, as Eratosthenes appreciated, the earth is round. So he made careful measurements of the difference between the angle made by the sun at the vertical and the vertical at the time of the solstice, working out that this corresponded to 1/50th of a circle, or 7 degrees, 12 minutes of arc. Simple geometry told him that this meant that the distance from Alexandria to Syene was 1/50th of the circumference of the earth, assuming, which is not quite true, that Syene lies due south of Alexandria. The distance from Syene to Alexandria was well known, even in Eratosthenes' days. It is about 500 miles or 800 kilometers in modern units. Egyptian records gave the distance at 5,000 states. And Eratosthenes checked this by asking camel train drivers how long it took them to make the journey. Some sources say he hired a man to pace out the distance, but this may be apocryphal. This gave him a figure of 694 states per degree, which he rounded off to 700. Multiplying by 360 gave him the circumference of the earth, 252,000 states. He could have just multiplied 5,000 by 50 to get the answer 250,000, but apparently he did it the hard way. So what is this in modern units? Unfortunately for us, the Greeks and Egyptians used slightly different states, but the likelihood is that Eratosthenes, being Greek, used the Greek measurement, where one state corresponds to 607 feet or 185 meters, which gives a circumference of 28,970 miles or 46,620 kilometers, only 16.3% too big. In the unlikely event that he used the Egyptian measurement, with one stade corresponding to 517 feet or 157.5 meters, he would have come up with a figure of 24,660 miles, or 39,690 kilometers, just a little bit too small, less than 2% smaller than the actual distance, 24,860 miles, or 40,008 kilometers. Either way, it is impressive. That was by no means the only impressive achievement of Eratosthenes. He used the information he found in the books in the Library of Alexandria to produce a 3-volume book of his own, in which he mapped and described the entire known world. He used grids of overlapping lines, like modern lines of latitude and lines of longitude, to locate places, and invented many of the terms still used by geographers today. More than 400 cities were named and located in the book. Unfortunately, the book itself, called Geographica, was lost, but parts of it have been reconstructed from reference to it in other works. Book 2 of Geographica included Eratosthenes' estimate of the size of the earth. According to Ptolemy, Eratosthenes measured the tilt of the earth's axis, which is related to the measurement of the circumference, very accurately, getting a value of 11 over the 83rd of 180 degrees, which is 23 degrees, 51 minutes, and 15 seconds. He also worked out a calendar that included leap years and tried to establish a chronology of literary and political events going back to the siege of Troy. Eratosthenes was very well-rounded, so much so that he had the nickname Beta, because he was second best at everything. According to his contemporaries, the Greek geographer Strabo, who lived from about 64 BCE to 24 CE, described Eratosthenes as the best mathematician among the geographers and the best geographer among the mathematicians. In mathematics, he is known for a technique called the Sieve of Eratosthenes, used to find prime numbers. This simple method, which he invented, involves making a list or grid of all the numbers, up to the biggest one you are interested in, for example, 1 to 1,000. Then you cross off from the list all the multitudes of 2, the first prime number, 4, 6, 8, and so on, but not 2 itself, and check that the next lowest number not crossed off is prime. If it isn't, you have made a mistake. If it is, cross off all the multiples of that number, but not the number itself, and so on. Once you get to the end of the list, the numbers that have not been crossed off form the list of primes. Genius. So this is the end of the second story. If you want to know more about Eratosthenes, and especially this very story, check on YouTube. Just type in his name and you should see this very video. Carl Sagan is an amazing storyteller and scientist. So the last thing we do is I have a little list of vocabulary, and this is how I would pronounce it. Eratosthenes, contemporary, solstice, measurement, circumference, circumference, stayed, achievement, achievement, chronology, chronology, contemporaries, contemporaries, mathematic or mathematician. All right? Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next story. Bye for now.